In the state of Ohio, wild boars are reproducing at a rate that cannot be controlled. Within a short period of time, they have spread across enormous distances, causing damage to ecosystems, ruining crops, and posing a threat to their entire communities. Warnings have been issued by a number of nations due to the fact that these animals are carriers of hazardous diseases that can be transmitted to cattle and even toward humans. Hunting enthusiasts are obligated to take immediate action, not only to safeguard the harvest, but also to protect the health of the general population. What the implications will be if we are unable to control them in a timely manner, and who will be responsible for bearing the cost. It is particularly difficult to trace wild boars since they are notorious for their destructive nature, their lightning-fast speed, and their tendency to hide in decaying forests that are covered in leaves. In the event that you are even one beat behind the hunter, the conflict between the hunter and the wild boar is not merely a straightforward chase. It is possible for the predator to show up. The sound of the dog's barking could be heard in the distance, and it became increasingly audible with each passing second. It was obvious that they had just picked up the scent of a wild boar, and it was heading in the direction of me. After only a few moments, the boar emerged from a portion of the woodland that was concealed completely. Taking careful aim, I raised my rifle and raised it. "Howdy!" As soon as the shot was fired, the boar immediately fell to the ground and disappeared into the forest. The sound of gunfire reverberated across the forest, coming from a variety of different directions. It was obvious that my companions had come across and killed a few wild boars. In addition, this was only the beginning. The intensity had already reached this level. Indeed, this search was a thrilling experience. While I was still searching for footprints, I proceeded into the woodland that was opposite to me. Suddenly, a shadowy figure approached and concealed itself between the trees. Immediately, I raised my rifle while maintaining my posture and prepared to wait. I pulled the trigger as soon as its entire body emerged from beneath the trunk of the vehicle. Wham! Without even having the opportunity to turn around, the wild boar completely passed out on the spot. My fellow partner Michael had also followed the path of the boar, which was located in a different part of the woodland. The boar sprinted across the field of view just as he was raising his gun to aim. On the spot, the boar was brought down by the first shot, which landed cleanly. To be sure, it was not yet over. An additional one quickly emerged from behind the first one. Michael did not show any reluctance. After putting another cartridge into the chamber, he pulled the trigger once again. Wham! While I was moving in the direction of the cows who were whistling, I was abruptly confronted by two wild boars that emerged from behind me and charged directly at me. I didn't give myself a moment to ponder before I raised my gun and pulled the trigger and fired. A trailing boar descended to the east of me, and the first shot boomed out from the gun. What a resounding bang! The hunt had not yet come to an end. We were resolute in our mission to eliminate the remaining individuals. The sound of a bang! Clouds of a dark color started to fill the sky. Our mission was to locate the remaining boars as quickly as possible before the rain began to fall. Wham! As I continued to follow the route, I was startled to hear a stir coming from the bushes. My rifle was raised without any hesitancy on my part. A single shot was all it took for the boar to fall, and it did not even have the opportunity to flee. Wham! Because it had begun to rain, we had no choice but to make our way back. If it were to rain, it would be difficult to get out of there. During my journey, I became aware of a movement in the bushes. Immediately, I raised my weapon and took aim at the target. It was a shadowy figure that sped by. It was me who shot. Wham! On the other hand, I failed. A change in direction was made by the wild boar, and it charged directly toward me. I swiftly adjusted myself and severed the thread. Suddenly, the second shot was fired. At this point, there was no way for it to slip away. Bang, 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 bang. Each November, Denny's leases out many of its farmlands to various tenants. On the occasion of the beginning of the maize harvest season, Turkey is bustling with activity. But this year, the joy of harvest turned into turmoil when bands of wild boars began rampaging around the fields night after night. This caused significant disruptions to the harvest. There was something that sparked within me as I watched months of laborious work being trampled and ruined. I joined forces with other hunters in the area, and together we devised a strategy for a persistent pursuit. I was determined not to sit idly by and let the situation unfold. We set out at the crack of dawn, riding our well-known hunting vehicle in the direction of the expansive fields that Denny's lease several encompassed. Just under 10 minutes after we arrived, a few wild boars that had been hiding in the distance became visible. Despite the fact that I instantly took aim and shot, the beast continued to charge forward as if it were unfazed by the loud gunfire. As a result of the dog pushing the boars from all sides and the net tightening from all sides, the prey had finally come this time. This region is well known for being a safe haven for wild boars, and it didn't take us long to identify our next target, which is in line with the area's reputation. We moved fast, thereby obstructing its travel route. I was in a favorable position, and I carefully brought the target within my sights before simultaneously pulling the trigger. At the same time, my hunting companion also made a great shot, which resulted in the successful killing of another boar. It was remarkable that we were able to kill 2 animals in such a short amount of time. That was a beautiful second. The double takedown served as the impetus for our movement. The entire group was energized and more motivated than they had ever been before. Shortly after that, a dark shadow swiftly darted over the field before disappearing. We slipped into the tall undergrowth as a matter of course, holding our breath and waiting for the right moment to strike. And then, in the blink of an eye, before the boar could even begin to comprehend the predicament, a number of shots were fired. It ended in an instant, just like that. Suddenly, the boar fell to the ground in the center of a field that was completely open. While everything was going on, John's area was the scene of a frantic pursuit. However, because of his years of training and his razor-sharp marksmanship, it did not take him very long to neutralize the target striker in a way that was both clean and effective. Our canine companions once again demonstrated their usefulness by rousing a large boar that had been hidden deep within the forest. The charge was heading in our direction, but I was prepared for it. After taking aim with my rifle, I slid to the ground and remained there. The boars in this area are unlike any others. They are fearless, aggressive, and devoid of any fear whatsoever. Some of them even attempted to bill us directly. Thankfully, we were able to maintain our composure in the face of intense pressure and reply with prompt precision in every interaction. While we were in the process of moving to a new location, we were abruptly notified by weird noises coming from the opposite side of the field. A few seconds later, another pig launched itself into a sprint, frantically trying to get away. When they travel, they bring disease with them and cause chaos wherever they go. They are intruders. Not only do wild boars inflict irreparable harm to crops and the environment, but they are also carriers of dozens of diseases that are extremely harmful to humans. In the event that nothing is done to stop them, their numbers will continue to spiral out of control, which will result in disastrous outcomes. We start out today with the intention of achieving a single objective, which is to locate and eradicate these terrible bugs. Be sure to keep an eye on every exciting moment and every difficult conflict, and observe how we manage to defeat them. Our canines are able to locate a wild boar in a short amount of time because to their keen senses of smell and amazing hunting instincts. A shadowy figure sprinted across the unending white landscape, advancing like a storm as it traversed the landscape. Nevertheless, I fired the trigger just in time to prevent it from vanishing into the thick foliage. One shot was fired into the air. We went higher in the hopes of gaining a better vantage point from which to observe the movement of the boar. Moreover, it was the best choice possible. Both of our hunting dogs had their sights set on a target, and they were pursuing it with incredible speed. In the course of the pursuit, we arrived at the open field where we had established our camp earlier. The sound of a gunshot reverberated throughout the valley, but the boar continued to flee. Inconsistent, it remained in that position. We opened fire on it. It was the second time that the beast had gotten it, and it crumbled once more. Instantaneously, they looked for a safe haven, and the only place that was safe was the realm of death. If we did not take action right now, they would come back in a matter of minutes, causing significantly more damage than they already had. The skilled members of our hunting team soon came up with a strategy. In order to ensure that every possible escape route was secured, we divided into smaller groups. It was decided that the highest peak would serve as the lookout point. Our approach was made more difficult by the bare trees and the rough terrain. But then, a silhouette appeared in front of us. It was our objective. Although it made an attempt to flee, our trained hunting dog was able to stop it in its tracks. The beast, which was surrounded, made a last-ditch effort to fight back by charging forward in an attempt to escape the situation. I remained unmoved as I steadied my aim. I pulled the trigger just as it was lunging at me. The sound of the gunshot broke the silence, and it immediately put an end to its charge. There, on the other side of the slope, my comrades also fired. After the hunt was ended, the win was sealed in the smoke of the rifle. In spite of the fact that dusk was drawing near, we continued on, making every second count. I observed a herd of wild boars gathered below, completely ignorant to the impending threat, from our vantage point on the high ridge where we were positioned. Our next action was determined by our years of experience in hunting. In order to take the shot, we held our breath, steadied our guns, and then fired. The first bullet shattered the silence by bursting through the air and causing it to break. Despite the fact that the herd dispersed in pink, we did not allow them to escape. The subsequent onslaught of gunfire was so persistent that it prevented them from retreating. 2 of the over a dozen boars were able to escape the situation. As if they were warriors storming forward in a battle, our hunting dogs ran across the battlefield, their eyes searching every bush and tree in the area. Their growls were piercing and hostile in nature. A wild pig that was in a state of terror raced across our path. The time has come for this. I took a step forward, aimed, and discharged my weapon. A bullet ripped through the thick hide of the animal. Immediately prior to its death, the beast let forth a ferocious roar before collapsing. Before it had even had a chance to touch the ground, our dogs had already rushed in to claim their triumph. At the very moment when we believed that the hunt had come to an end, our dogs went into a frenzy and began barking violently at a dense bush. Inside, there was something concealed. Suddenly there was a peculiar sense of urgency in the air. An ordination was not performed here. We clenched our fists around our weapons, ready to use them in any situation. The entire event took place in a single moment. Instinct took control of the situation. The trigger was pulled by me. When the bullet struck the beast, it hit it square in the middle. What you just witnessed was a large-scale wild boar raid, and it was not for the purpose of gaining glory or pleasure. The wild boars, on the other hand, have effectively depleted the resources of the entire Allier region. Located in the middle of France, the region of Allier is characterized by grain farms that extend as far as the eye can see. A wild boar population that has been allowed to grow unfettered in recent years has, however, caused the environment to become seriously disorganized. Worst of all, there is the worry that diseases will spread. Fields have been plowed up, crops have been uprooted, and irrigation systems have been harmed. In the month of October of last year, the local administration made a request for assistance from the hunting community in order to bring the wild boar population under control. The Allier is a region that is regarded to be a hotspot for the density of wild boars, and I, together with over 40 other gunmen, created a hunting group that focused on the Allier. Several groups were formed, with each group consisting of 4 to 6 individuals, and we were each sent to a certain spot where wild boars commonly travel. In the shadows of the trees, a wild boar materialized. It is possible that it had recognized a threat, which is why it halted and listened. I made the most of the situation and dispatched this hog by opening fire as rapidly as I could. Following the successful capture of the initial wild boar, we proceeded with our ambush, and shortly thereafter, a herd of wild boars materialized. Tony, a friend of ours, fired shots at the pigs. Unfortuitously, the bullet did not hit the target. It had the opposite effect, as it frightened the pigs and caused them to flee more quickly. When Tony realized that he had missed his shot, he expressed his dissatisfaction and declared that he would not let any wild boar to escape from the barrel of his pistol. Tony calmly raised his gun and shot down a very huge wild boar, perhaps as if to substantiate the statements he had just said. I can't believe that this wild boar is probably the largest one that we've taken down this week. It appears like we are killing a wild boar by ambushing it. There was a large herd of wild boars that had gathered together. We kept shooting, and we were able to kill a significant number of wild boars. We cannot afford to waver. Leaving any behind will cause them to disperse and kill the pigs that are in the surrounding area. The herd of wild boar moved around in disarray. The ones that were the prey likewise dropped into the middle of the fields, and we ambushed them at an early stage. It is common for wild boars to travel in herds. On the other hand, in order to hunt successfully, we need to be really patient and wait for them to show up. When a wild boar is in sight, the ability to load and aim their firearms accurately is also essential to having a good hunting experience. The head or lungs of a wild boar must be the target of our aim in order to successfully kill it with a single shot. It will save us time and lessen the damage that we have on the environment if we take a precise shot. We carried on with our inspection of the paths that led to the agricultural region right up until the afternoon. On the other hand, the pigs were more intelligent as they moved in smaller groups, split up, and were better at concealing. However, despite this, they were still unable to evade our pursuit. Any wild boar that was discovered was promptly put to death.